Hi everyone, Mature Simmer here. So as you can see, early on a December morning, haven't been on in a few days, you haven't missed anything. It's actually been intentional. So you can see here, we're at 3 of 3. Obviously we're now in winter, so this is going to sit this way until something changes. And so what has changed is my approach that I'm going to be taking at this point. I'm going to try something new, and that's just based on what I discovered when I went ahead and did the work in the last episode that I shared with you. What could obviously change is I could go ahead and mow that, which is normally what I've been doing. Once it gets to 3 of 3 every couple days, I go ahead and mow. But if I wait one more day, it's technically ready to harvest. That was the other thing, is I haven't come in and fertilized because I kind of knew it would get stuck here in the winter, and just, again, trying to catch up in real life from being gone on vacation. I've just had less playtime, and that's also part of why I decided to go ahead and take a peek at what I've decided to do, which is only cut it when it's ready to harvest. So basically get one less cut a year. So that's going to turn in, I think, to 3 instead of 4. I think I'm still going to get 3. If I get 2 somehow, I'll probably revisit the idea, but I'm pretty sure, pretty comfortable I'm going to get 3. At this point, to get things moving again, I am going to get on here and start unloading some of the silage, at least enough to get a day's worth, if not more, producing. And then I'm just going to keep selling as we go along. So right now, silage is at 180. Not great, not bad. It's telling me on the chart it might get to 188. So we're not far from the peak. Certainly on the previous server when we were in France, we were seeing it get up there near 200, or at least a good amount into the 190s, 193, 194. Not sure that that's going to happen here. I haven't really been on, because I left before last winter. I was on vacation at that point, and so couldn't see what was occurring there. This will be the first winter I can kind of observe and see, but I'm imagining, because usually what I've seen happen is based on what actually occurs, that chart adjusts, so that if at some point it does get higher, obviously next year it'll show that. But given we're not seeing that right now, I don't think that's what it's going to do. Finally going to get a good amount of income here, I think. Not that we didn't before, but obviously there was some digging out of the loan that I had, things like that, and so didn't get nearly as far up as I would have liked. So we'll see where we end up at the end of this season, but I basically have about 2.4 million liters, I think, because the thing that I discovered, so I have been intentionally stringing you along a little bit. Sorry if that irritates some of you. Certainly let me know that, hey, you could do without the drama, just get to it, and, give me a 2-minute video, because that's really what this would have turned into otherwise, because at this point, being in the dark, and just that I'm going to be doing exactly what you've seen me do twice now, not sure that anybody's super excited to sit and watch that happen. I might go ahead and fertilize at some point, but I think I'm going to do that later, because I do have just about an hour here right now where I can do some stuff, and I don't want to burn that fertilizing, which I can do at any point today. Obviously it's only 3 a.m. and honestly I can do it anytime during the winter, so I've probably really got 2 more days I could do it. So I want to get the silos producing, because otherwise I run into the problem where I'm going to start next year and not have room or be real tight on room, and more importantly, the pricing is going to start to go down, and then I'm selling when I don't need to be selling. And at this point, having missed some time, I'd prefer to avoid doing that. So at this point, that would have given us 105,000 liters pulled out of the silo. This is going to get us up to 140, and for now that gets me enough that I can run almost all day. Now I'll likely be back in, or I'll just keep going depending on how much time I have left, but right now I'm going to get 4 loads out of each silo to give it nearly a full day run, because it can go a little higher than that, about 141, 142,000 in a day. And that way, once again, if they come in sync and so forth, which they won't, given that we're only off about 2-3 hours at most right now, but if they did, everything would just keep plowing along, and it would just pile more silage in there. So instead of, I think I was getting like 620,000 liters off the field, waiting that extra day, I knew I'd get more, but I got like 939,000. I had run it exactly. I don't have that number in front of me. It was like 939,452 or something like that. So, and that was the same area of the field that I normally do. So it's a pretty good increase, and really, if I look at it, if I'm pulling 600,000 off the field each time, you know, a little more than that, you know, even if I was pulling 700,000, you know, we're between 2.4 and 2.8 million for the 4 harvests that I was doing. And if I instead switch to 3 and I continue to get that kind of throughput, I'm going to be sitting there at about 2.7, and that's basically the same. So, you know, and potentially it's even a little bit more. So rather than bust my hump to run across the field 4 times, which obviously is all work time, I can do it in 3, get the same result. You know, kind of the working, well, I guess it's the opposite of working. Well, no, it's never mind. It's early. So I apologize for the lost brain cells that are obviously still not awake. It's very much working smarter, not harder. I somehow in my head had it is working harder, because I was going to start with that, and I'm like, no, you dolt, it goes the other way. That's the whole point, is not just work hard and then do things poorly in a dumb way. So yeah, if I can spend whatever it is, the 3 hours or 4 hours that it takes me to do the work each harvest cycle for the grass, but do it 3 times a year instead of 4, well, duh, why wouldn't I? And then it has the added benefit of lowering other costs, because I only do them 3 times a year instead of 4. So I'm going to have to fertilize less often, obviously 3 times instead of 4, so it's going to save me the few $1,000s each year for that 4th harvest. And more importantly, I'm also only going to have to soil sample less frequently and lime less frequently as well. So it's just going to spread out the costs and obviously make them occur less frequently, because once again, yes, this is the end of year 2. So technically we only have 8 years, but again, it's early. Clearly my brain's not functioning. Let's just keep it simple. If I was here for 10 years, that would mean, you know, 30 harvests instead of 40. And obviously if I drop 10 off, I'm probably at least removing 2 soil sampling runs, and I'm removing at least 3 lime spreadings. over that time. So it's not insignificant, especially given the size of the fields and so forth. You know, I think doing the soil sampling is over 10,000 each time, and that, you know, doesn't even include the rental of the equipment. But you know, and the lime is up there as well. I don't know if it's quite, it probably is that high because renting the spreader is almost $3,000. So I apologize, I kind of keep ending up against this shed, which moves the camera closer and obviously gets really loud. So the other benefit that I've got, and then I think that'll be it, I'll wrap this up and keep it relatively short. But let me get over to the silo and kind of show you, rather than just tell you. Picture's worth 1,000 words, although this picture is going to be words. So numbering the silos, like I now know like which silo I'm at, because I know which one's one, which is what I'm at right now. So you can see my silage amount is creeping down, but it's very easy then to tell, you know, where I'm going, where I had problems in the at other times without renaming them, like knowing, hey, which one is which, because it was just large stave silo, large stave silo. So it makes it much simpler to kind of make sure at the end that I'm loading things equally. And so, yeah, I ended up with basically 315,000-ish, 305,000 between that in each of the silos, as equal as I could get it without worrying about it too much, because that extra 10,000 is just going to take a few hours at most to process through. So it doesn't make sense to worry about getting it totally equal. But I've gotten kind of that unintended benefit, which I've realized earlier than just last time. But I've been using that for a couple cycles, but I do realize I hadn't shared that with you. So if you've never renamed your locations, it's yet another reason to do it. Now, the other thing I saw, and I can't verify definitively, so now let me check again. Hold on. So now I need to grab one more out of here. I had lost track of how many loads I had done here. So I can't say definitively if renaming has caused this, but if you recall, when I did it, I showed you, hey, there's a baling job here, and it's saying it goes to one of my stave silos, so someone knows, hey, I shouldn't take it because I'm not going to be able to fulfill that. All the baling jobs that were here when I came back, they all were going to the Nauro handler that I'm delivering to here. Nothing was a job you couldn't do. So I'm also wondering if the renaming, now that things have really fully cycled through, like if it won't even produce jobs that can't be fulfilled in my silos. It seems logically unlikely, because I don't know that everybody else has renamed their silos. There's, to my knowledge, no way to see that because we don't have access to each other's farms in this iteration because we're not allowed to help each other. And again, in a competition, we probably really wouldn't help each other. You know, I mean, people share equipment and so forth, but so to some degree, I guess, it's not that you can't have someone as a contractor, but you know, most folks, I think, are not doing that. I'm not sure entirely if that's the case or not. But, you know, as such, you can't go look at someone's farm and tell, hey, they've got these named things. Because obviously if we join someone's farm, then we'd be leaving ours, and then we'd lose access to our own farm, which you don't want to do. So this is being said, though, on the assumption that other people have not renamed their silos, because we were seeing things that were just large stave silo that were still showing up, which meant they were going to someone else's farm as opposed to mine. So, you know, at this point, it may have cleared things up, but I got to go through a kind of another cycle next year to verify that, because if I don't see any come up next year, you know, maybe everybody rename their silos, and that's given us that extra benefit that wasn't necessarily expected, but something new to learn in Farming Simulator. So with that, that gets you where I'm at. So I'm gonna sell silage and fertilize, and we'll see. I think it's still going to take me into at least April, because I don't know that the first day of spring in March it's suddenly going to be ready to harvest. It may. If it is, my intent would be, as long as I have time to do that. But basically at this point I'm waiting for the grass to be ready to harvest, and what that's going to turn into is then, I think every 3 days is when I'm going to mow grass instead of every 2. So you now have an idea of kind of what the cadence is likely to be, because obviously I just toss out these videos in real time on generational farming as I'm doing something, and that likely means I won't be doing things off more often than every 3 days. Obviously, if I'm planning on doing it, it opens the possibility, hey, if I want to get on and do a contract of some sort, as I've said, there's certain types of contracts that so far seem to be worth it. Haven't tried a harvest contract yet. You know, maybe I'll do that at some point, and certainly if I do, I'll share what I see and learn a little bit there as well. But that's the situation, so that gets you up to speed. If you like what you're seeing here, certainly, and you haven't liked the video, I would appreciate it greatly if you would do that. It helps the YouTube algorithm realize that people are enjoying what's going on here, and therefore YouTube recommends it to more people, which means, you know, we get more visitors, get more views. That'll help increase subscribers, and that creates all the benefits that liked videos and subscribed channels provide to you as a visitor, and obviously me as a content provider as well. But it doesn't, you know, cost you anything. You're not going to get spammed with anything. You've got control over if you want notifications when videos post, but I think most people understand that for the most part it's kind of every morning. There's usually something coming up, but obviously these generational farming videos show up as I'm doing things, as I said, in real time, and when I can edit them and get them up there. So those really aren't on a schedule. So for things like that that show up off cycle, certainly having notifications will help you be notified that, hey, there's something new that you might want to take a peek at. But other than that, we are good, and I will see you next time.